The tax collectors and sinners were all drawing near to hear Jesus. And the Pharisees and the scribes murmured, saying, "This man receives sinners and eats with them." So Jesus told them this parable. There was a man who had 2 sons, and the younger of them said to his father, "Father, give me the share of property that falls to me." And he divided his living between them. Not many days later, the younger son gathered all he had and took his journey into a far country, and there he squandered his property in loose living. And when he had spent everything, a great famine arose in that country, and he began to be in need. So he went and joined himself to one of the citizens of that country, who sent him into his fields to feed pigs. And he would gladly have fed on the pods that the pigs ate, but no one gave him anything. So when he came to himself, he said, "How many of my father's hired servants have bread enough and to spare, but I die here with hunger? I will arise and go to my father, and I will say to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me as one of your hired servants.' And he arose and came to his father. But while he was yet at a distance, his father saw him and had compassion, and ran and embraced him and kissed him. And the son said to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son.' But the father said to his servants, 'Bring quickly the best robe and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand and shoes on his feet, and bring the fatted calf and kill it, and let us eat and celebrate. For this my son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found.' And they began to celebrate. Now the eldest son was in the field, and as he came and drew near to the house, he heard music and dancing. And he called one of the servants and asked what this meant. And he said to him, 'Your brother is back, and your father has killed the fatted calf, because he has received him safe and sound.' But he was angry and refused to go in. His father came out and entreated him, but he answered his father, 'Lo, these many years I have served you, and I never disobeyed your commands. Yet you never gave me a baby calf that I might celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours came, who has devoured your living with harlots, you killed for him the fatted calf.' And the father said, 'Son, you are always with me, and all that is mine is yours. It was fitting to celebrate and be glad, for this your brother was dead and is alive. He was lost and is found.' Amen." Dear brothers and sisters, this parable of Jesus, with the flavor of a fairy tale, has often been entitled The Prodigal Son, but the real protagonist, as in all of Jesus' parables, is instead the unlimited, merciful justice of God, infinitely truer and greater than the most splendid of our dreams. Never a simple and reassuring happy ending, but a promising and unleashing new beginning. Here, not only for the prodigal son, but also for his jealous older brother. Unlike fairy tales, here there is no good and bad. The first of the two, the prodigal son, the first of the two, the prodigal son, whose fate moves us when you look closely, is a hateful figure with no excuse. He is a rich and spoiled daddy's boy who creates his own ruin with his own hands in the most stupid of ways, distancing himself from those who love him and squandering all the good he has received until he reaches the depths of material and spiritual misery. Far from his father's house among the pagans, he has become a pig keeper, the most impure of professions for a Jew. A character like that should not arouse any sympathy or compassion, even when he comes to his senses, because what drives him in need is need, desperation, and calculation, not a conversion of the heart. In short, how can you sympathize with him? On the other hand, the older brother is even more unpleasant, a real spoiled sport full of envy, touchy, insensitive, incapable of understanding the hell that the younger brother has gone through, even if it was his own fault. But we must admit that he reacts as many of us would have reacted. There is nothing strange in his behavior. What is truly strange, surprising in this parable of Jesus is only the behavior of the Father, even more so if we consider the figure of the Father in the rich families on the ancient Near East, a figure which emerged completely distorted from this parable, revolutionized from top to bottom. It was unthinkable then any advance of the inheritance, especially in favor of a son so degenerate as to abandon his father's house rather than to enrich his original family with a new family. Even more unthinkable that an old patriarch would be moved like a woman and publicly humiliate himself by running to meet a son who had covered him with shame, throwing himself on his neck and kissing him repeatedly, as is still the custom of Eastern mothers, certainly not fathers. And what about a forgiveness that does not even give the son time to ask for it, and does not even need to be pronounced, but immediately turns into a great celebration, almost as if that father had lived only looking forward to that day? And this father also humiliates himself with the eldest son, the father of our parable. He leaves the house to tear him away from his torment. He begs him to come in. His joy is not complete without him. And everything I have has always been yours. Not only that, what is most surprising is this old patriarch. Patriarch is the failure to resort to his own absolute power over both his sons. Why leave them alone? Why wait for the return of the first with infinite and painful patience instead of going to grab him by the ears and force him to return? Why pray to the second son with maternal tenderness when he could have imposed his will on him for his own good? Of course, if God behaves like this Father, he is a very different God than we would be if we were God. A God who waits with open arms. Indeed, he runs to meet all desperate sinners and runs after all those who set themselves up as judges of sinners, to unite everyone in a single universal hug. We may not like a God like that. Indeed, everyone could not like him. It is not for nothing that he died crucified. But God who in Jesus Christ loved everyone to death, and in whose name we were baptized, is made just like that. Fortunately for everyone, including us, he is made like that, and he is God, we are not. God does not expect us to be like him. Ultimately, to use another parable, that of the workers of different hours, it is enough for him that we do not frown upon his being good to those who, in our opinion, do not deserve it. That we let him love, that we are not a stumbling block to him, and if we want, we accompany him on the path that leads for him to each and every one of us, and to every other man, every other woman, no one excluded. Amen.